Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It begins with a space scroll telling us that an alien gene allows some humans to transform into monstrous creatures called zoonoids. Their leader Balcus started the Kronos Corporation to further his evil ambitions and is in possession of an alien prototype called the Guyver. It allows the user to become a Power Ranger, so Dr. Segawa has stolen it and opens our movie getting chased by some corporate goons. He puts the device in some back alley Tupperware before the henchman Stryker and Ramsey can finally capture the runaway scientist. They hold him for the arrival of Balcus's right-hand mutant Lisker and his lady friend Weber. The doctor reveals himself to be a zoonoid who transforms into a giant fish man, but Baldy accepts the challenge and turns into an even larger toad thingy. He throws down with Tuna Boy, but being the more powerful Zoa, he crushes Segawa's head as his racist friends shout teriyaki sauce from the sideline. It turns out that the corporate defector was on his way to deliver the Guyver to a CIA agent investigating Kronos, Max Reed. Unaware of the existence of zoonoids, our story dictates that he be placed at a convenient distance from the attack to keep it that way. And by the time he and a couple of agents reach the scene, Segawa's exterior has already dissolved away. Lisker returns the briefcase to Balcus, but he discovers the doctor swapped it out for a toaster, and not even a good one. He angrily scrambles the zoonoid's brain with his telekinetic abilities before telling him to get back out there and find the real Guyver. Since his fish contact had a daughter, Max visits Mizky to break the bad news about her amphibious father's sudden demise. She's visiting her love interest, the young whippersnapper Sean, at a martial arts dojo, but it's only Aikido, so keep your pants on. He's also just not very good at it and gets his nose busted, so Sensei Jensen politely tells Sean to go bleed somewhere else please. When Max asks Mizky to accompany him to the crime scene, Sean follows them on his moped because scooters and Aikido is just how this kid rolls. He watches from afar as we learn that Max is the only cop who suspects the existence of zoonoids and isn't very liked by his Colonel Castle. He's only letting him pursue this Ninja Turtle theory in hopes of giving him enough rope in the investigation to metaphorically hang himself with. It's at this time when Lisker returns to search for the device, and Sean just happens upon the titular Guyver hidden inside the lunchbox. He stuffs it into his backpack because why the hell not, and Max tells Mizky that her father called it the most dangerous thing on Earth since the atomic bomb. The agent gets interrupted by Sean coming to check up on his girlfriend, but he spots Max in her apartment and thinks that the detective's plowing her. He takes his insecure behind home, but while scooting through an alleyway he runs out of gas and gets jumped by the local gang. Honestly, the first guy just offers to help with the bike, but Sean pulls out the move, so anything that the yellow bandana boys do from here is on him. All they do is hold him back for the Make-A-Wish kid to land a kick, but it causes the Guyver to fall out of his backpack. Since we actually have to make these guys do something bad, one kicks Sean while he's already down and he falls face first into the alien device. An organic armor suddenly grows around him, transforming our protagonist into the Green Ranger and giving him all sorts of cool superpowers. Once fully erect, Sean proceeds to beat the gang with an acceptable level of violence until the big guy fires his gun at him. Then it's all on for this little psycho as he produces elbow blades to try catch his first body, but just catches his reflection in a hubcap. The man runs off as Sean screams in disappointment that he'll never get laid wearing this thing, but it disappears into his body as this loser just can't stop winning. The next day, Max and Castle pay a visit to Kronos Corp, but they find no information about Dr. Segawa's murder. Since they insist nothing was stolen, Max rushes over to Mizky's place in case they go after her, but Castle tells two of his agents to keep an eye on him. Now that he has powers, Sean shows up at Mizky's apartment to apologize for acting a fool and comfort the distraught daughter. They're about to kiss when getting interrupted by Miss Jensen arriving with some work files, so Sean's forced to jog on for the time being. He crosses Ramsey and Stryker arriving to kidnap Segawa's daughter, and returning a bit later he sees them leaving with her rolled up in a rug. Finding the apartment trashed and Jensen dead, Sean meticulously deduces that it must have been the men who have Mizky stuffed in the back of their van. Max shows up at the apartment, and when Sean smashes glass bottles over the henchmen's heads, the agent draws on Lisker until they can rescue Mizky. The trio flee with the zoonoids coming after them as Stryker transforms into his gremlin-looking alien form and follows the three over a brick wall, but ends up on the set of a horror movie and the director just thinks that he's the movie's monster. In his distraction, the three get away and Stryker leaves to rejoin his group while the director realizes the mistake he made. The chase leads to an old warehouse where the zoonoids all turn into their true forms and split up to search the building. With the help of Max they manage to evade them, but Ramsey's trunk having head sniffs them out in a matter of minutes. The movie erupts into chaos as Stryker is filled with bullets by Max, who's taken out of commission by the hairy bird-faced Weber. While Ramsey jiggles around his trunk, she captures Mizky and Sean drops a crate on Stryker's head, who's pretty much just a punching bag. They all capture Sean when the CIA agents tasked with watching Max show up with some of the craziest looking zoonoid designs yet. They simply join the rest of their kind as apparently the agency is in on it, while Sean still doesn't realize that his training's complete phooey. He applies the Guyver like he should have the moment these trash muppets arrived, and in a 9-minute fight scene Sean begins by tossing Stryker to the side. He then takes out all the monsters one by one, killing a CIA agent with a simple throw while Stryker throws a saw blade into the other's head by accident. The corporate Zoids just keep getting beaten up, so their commander Lisker palms the hostage off to Weber and takes the fight to Sean himself. Even with all of his strength, Sean seems to have the upper hand and uses the suit's blade to kill Weber before continuing to fight the Toad. Realizing the Guyver's balls the armor's weakness, Lisker tells his men to hold Sean still as he headbutts the really unfortunate location. Max wakes up and runs over to Mizky, where they watch Sean get beaten to a pulp by the gang and have the Guyver controller ripped from his forehead. The chest opens up and begins emitting a light, but then just closes again as Sean dies and melts into a puddle of goo. With the Guyver in hand, they knock out Max again, kidnap Mizky and deliver her to Balcus at his office at Kronos headquarters. When she wakes up, he shows her the incubation chambers where the company kidnaps humans to create new zoonoids for their evil agenda. He waffles on about things that we already know from the space scroll, and when Mizky tries to run away, she just runs deeper into the laboratory. There's a bunch of scientists doing sciencey stuff, while the new man in charge now that the girl's father's gone is the clumsy Dr. East. He drowns a failed zoonoid in an acid bath before informing the big dog that the Guyver device is behaving strangely, like it's trying to replicate. Balcus asks Mizky how Sean activated it, and when he isn't pleased by her response, he threatens to turn her into another zoonoid like he's doing to Max. Mizky knees Balcus in the Balcuses and punches straight through the safety glass to steal the Guyver because this girl has iron fists. She tries to escape but gets trapped by the zoonoids along with East and his associates, who also transform into their more handsome sides. With her threatening to dunk the device in the acid bath, Stryker knocks it from Mizky's hand and it flies right down Dr. East's throat. Lisker attempts to shove his entire arm down to retrieve it, but he's unable to as a blade cuts the doctor down the center from the inside. Sean emerges completely intact by the suit's replicating ability, which would be a cool moment, but he gives us this corny line.
"I've been rejected by death."
He knocks back Stryker, who's repeatedly sent to attack by Lisker out of fear of facing the Guyver himself. Sean frees Max from the incubator, who runs away with Mizky, while Sean holds off the Toad, who found his bravery when backed up by other zoonoids. Ramsey chases down Mizky and Max and catches them on a catwalk, while the rest of the monsters get caught behind this wide load on the stairway. Sean kills a scientist with a simple toss into the incubator and jumps onto the catwalk, where he kills Ramsey by throwing him into the same chamber. Lisker follows him up onto the catwalk, which is a great place for Sean to fight because he keeps knocking the zoonoids off and back down to the ground. He then drops down himself to kill one of the scientists before going at it again with Lisker, though he's much easier to defeat without his cronies. He grabs Sean's back, so he stabs him a few times with the elbow blade, then rips Lisker's forehead apart, finally killing the Great Toad. Meanwhile, the other two guests are being chased around by the run of the litter, who somehow finds himself on top of Max. Mizky picks up a microscope to bludgeon the monster stiff, and with seemingly no one else left alive, the three attempt to escape. Suddenly Max begins changing, and with some rather gruesome John Carpenter effects, he transforms into a giant insect zoonoid. It's too late for him now, but with Max's last breath he manages to tell Sean to bring down the evil Kronos Corporation before the giant cricket dies. Balcus takes Mizky hostage and explains that they took Max out of the incubator too soon, but talks about the mutations as nothing compared to the suit. He demands it again, but we get this line from Sean instead.
"I am the Guyver."
And when she moves out of the way with one swift kick, the Guyver sends Bali flying into another room. We hear his sinister laughter coming from the shadows as the Zorlord emerges, which is just a normal zoonoid but much bigger. Looking like a dragon with the back end of a human centipede, Super Balcus fights the Guyver, but it's all rather too big to fit on the screen at once. Sean stabs the monster in the eyeball, then drops from the catwalk slicing off a horn, but he's thrown to the ground and pinned. While holding his arms out, Balcus leans in with his forked tongue to pry the Guyver controller from Sean's forehead. Like it did with Lisker, the chest opens up, but unlike before, it has enough time to fire a large blast of energy that completely tears apart Balcus. With the villain defeated, Sean rejoins Mizky and reverts into human, but there isn't enough time to put on clothes before the two kiss. He gets dressed afterwards and the two depart. However, Colonel Castle looks on, disappointed with the scene, and Stryker gets the last word.
"Dynamite."
And the movie ends.
Look out, man! I got you!